Welcome to Be Home Resources, a place you can depend on for all your homeownership needs. My name is Kathleen Gano, your real estate concierge, and I'm excited to share with you how to maintain, update, and protect your investment. Today I'm here with Ryan Gritsky of H2O Care. And Ryan, I know that you're a water solutions company. However, I really want to understand better all of the benefits that your company offers, because there's a multitude of them. Tell us first, what is H2O Care's company mission?
So H2O Care is a licensed Massachusetts plumbing company. We specialize in the design, installation, and maintenance of water filtration and purification systems. We are also members of the WQA, the Water Quality Association, and we are an independent treatment company. We are fully insured, and our installers are trained H2O Care plumbers, and we have service technicians that work exclusively for H2O Care as well. Additionally, we provide service and support 24/7 for our customers. Essentially, we focus on, we have thousands of customers in the New England area because we satisfied customers, I should say, because we understand the water quality and the problems in the water itself.
I know you and I met because I work in towns that have wells as well as public water services through the town, and I know often we depend on towns to provide us great water. So whether you have a well or whether you have public services, there are always challenges with today's drinking water. Can we talk a little bit about those challenges? Because every week you're talking about a different town has problems, and it doesn't matter if you're on a well or if you're public water source resources. So what are some of those challenges that we have in our drinking water today?
The main thing we focus on are aesthetic issues. Those are things like hard water, iron, low pH, chlorine that can cause odor and taste, staining issues, things like that. There are health concerns that we can certainly help with as well. But our main focus is essentially improving water quality throughout the house, which also helps protect appliances, faucets and fixtures. The cleaner the water is, the less time and money you spend on cleaning things. Right. And you're actually improving the life and the efficiencies of your water using appliances.
Yeah, and there are a lot of appliances. We have dishwashers and washing machines and
hot water heaters.
Hot water heaters and furnaces. So what are some of the things we can expect when we are having, what are some of the things you're preventing against with
one of the most common issues people deal with is hard water. And hard water it's dissolved mineral content. Think dissolved limestone or calcium carbonate. That causes white spotting, the white scaling, when you see like the white crust build up on faucets and shower heads. Yeah. The cloudiness on dishes is a big thing because hardness binds to soap and it creates a soap scum, and that will dry on your dishes, that will dry in laundry, that'll dry on hair and skin as well. So removing that hardness is going to create essentially spot-free rinses. It's going to prevent that scale from building up in hot water heaters, so they run more efficient because the anodes don't scale. One of the biggest and probably the most beneficial thing for people is removing that hardness improves the feel of the water on your hair and skin.
Right. This is why when I go on vacation, my hair always never styles the same way.
Exactly, because the soap scum that's being created, it's going to leave your hair flat. It's going to dry out skin. It can leave hair brittle. So once it's removed, hair and skin are softer. You're using less soap is another thing as well. You just need significantly less soap because that hardness isn't binding to the soap.
Right, and this becomes an issue too, even with our personal health, if you have, skin issues or whatever. Not to mention drinking waters. So when we're considering the water we're drinking, I know a lot of towns have been having trouble with PFAS. Is that what it's called?
Yes.
So what is that, and what should we be looking for?
So PFAs or PFOAs, they're perfluoral alkaline substances, essentially. They're considered forever chemicals. They come from non-stick coatings like Scotchgard, Teflon, And they take a very, very, very long time to break down, so they can travel very far. This is why they're called forever chemicals. So they can bioaccumulate. They're linked to a bunch of different cancers, those sorts of things, and they're popping up all over the country because they were also in firefighting foam, which was used all over the place.
Right, right. So we have, and this is something that whether you have a well or whether you have, it's probably more in our public services, it's public town water.
It's honestly everywhere.
Yeah.
It's odorless and tasteless. Towns are testing for it. So if you live in a town, that is helpful because they're already looking for it. If you're on a public well, testing is essentially up to you unless there's unless you know there's a site where there's been significant contamination. You don't know it's there unless you test for it.
Right, right. So it starts out in our reservoirs and then it travels in through our systems. And
correct.
Interesting. And so what can we do for high PFAs? What are some of the suggested?
There are several ways to remove PFAs, carbon, activated carbon, or catalytic carbon, which is just an acid wash carbon. There are resins that are specific to removing the PFAs. You can also use membrane filtration like reverse osmosis.
So these are filtration systems that maybe if I lived in a town that had high PFAs, I might consider a whole house filtration or a sink filtration.
Exactly. If you want to treat the entire house, if you have young kids and you want to make sure that they're not being exposed to it anywhere in the house, in the bath or when they're brushing their teeth, things like that, or if you're mainly concerned about just drinking the water, because your biggest source of contamination with PFAs is through consumption. So having a pure, clean drinking water source, generally from a dedicated faucet at the kitchen sink, is a great way to protect yourself.
Right, right. And I don't know if we always think about that and how that impacts us. You know, we just simply go to the faucet or we go to our refrigerator and grab some water and we don't even think about it. And yet we do think about it when we go to the grocery store and we're buying water in a bottle, yep. Right? So is there differences in that water that we're buying in those bottles?
There's absolutely differences. Depending on the type of water you're buying, spring water, mineral water, the high pH waters, whatever they happen to be, you can still, reverse osmosis is a technology. It's the same technology they use to take salt water and turn it into fresh water. It's essentially aquafina. You can have that directly coming from your tap, and it's a way to ensure that you're removing essentially up to 99% of pretty much any contaminant that's in the drinking water. The system itself, besides removing PFAs, it can remove just about any contaminant you can think of: arsenic, lead, bacteria. Generally, it's not rated for bacteria, but just disclaimers, etc. But it can also get out pharmaceuticals, PCBs, pesticides, herbicides. Any contaminant you can think of, the system can remove it.
Interesting. So when someone has a home well, their well on their property, such as in Bolton and Stowe and some of the smaller towns, those wells, you should test them. How frequently should you test for things in a personal well? The
state of Massachusetts recommend that you test your private well once a year for bacteria and nitrates. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, they recommend a more in-depth test every 5 to 10 years, where you're testing for a lot more things: arsenic, radon, lead, bacteria, metals, salts, those sorts of things. Yeah. Just to keep an eye on the water quality.
Yeah, and that's an interesting, what you just said is interesting to me, being in real estate. Many homeowners that I talk to don't test their water at all, regardless of whether or not they have a well or whatever. We just trust that it looks good, tastes good, it's fine. And so we don't worry about it.
I mean, the biggest prompts that we get from people are staining, odor and taste issues. The water smells weird. It tastes funny. Exactly. It's turning my toilet orange, those sorts of things.
Right, right. And so that's definitely a signal that you should be testing your water to see how to fix it.
Absolutely. If you don't know what's in there, you don't really know what to do. Yeah. So, again, there's lots of things you can do. Buying something online and just shoving it in there It might work, it might not. It depends on what's in your water.
Yeah, what's interesting, and I thought was a great service of yours, is that you'll come out and do a test and give somebody a quick assessment of what they might be looking at. And then I know there's more in-depth tests that you can have done at labs.
Right, because we do offer a free in-house water test. We can test in real time for hardness, iron, pH, alkalinity, total dissolved solids, and chlorine if you're on town water.
Yep.
If you wanted to take more in-depth tests, we can absolutely take water samples to state-accredited labs to make sure to get those analyzed as well.
Yeah. Do you help people read those reports?
I do.
Those
yes.
are a little overwhelming.
It's like a different
if you
language.
ask me.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, it's a different language.
They're just
when
throwing
you look
numbers
at
at you and stuff like that. So trying to understand what those numbers actually mean, whether it's good, whether it's bad, because sometimes things are present, but they're not in exceedance of any limits. You know,
Right.
Oftentimes, especially in wells, you can find arsenic, you can find lead, you can find these other things. They're listed on the report, but they're not flagged because they're not in exceedance, and it's not above the recommended limit. But how much arsenic do you want to drink?
Right.
So
right.
that sort of a thing.
Sticking with the environmental theme, radon is also something else we found in water. Is that something your company can help with if someone finds radon in their water?
That is absolutely something we can help with. It's not very hard to remove radon from water. Aeration systems are the best way to do it because they're physically removing the radon, which can then be vented outside and above the house.
Right.
It's more of a concern on wells.
Yep.
Versus town water. Most town water involves some type of aeration process or carbon filtration anyway, which is going to remove radon.
Yeah.
Again, radon is an odorless, tasteless gas. So biggest issues are with private well owners because, again, if it's there, you're not going to know it unless you test for it.
Right, right. So hence that recommended testing your wells every year.
Exactly.
Just to see. Yeah. So beyond those services that we just talked about, the filtration systems, and those filtration systems are everything from something under the sink to extensive
Right.
filter systems, depending on what you're filtering. Would that be a fair
Exactly.
statement? So there's no like, oh, this is what it costs, because it depends on what you need.
It does really depend. It depends on the quality of the water and honestly the concern of the person in the home.
Right.
Some people are very concerned about what they're drinking or what the water's doing. Some people not as concerned.
Right.
Our goal is to let you know what you can do and try and lead you towards the best decision based off of your concerns.
Yeah, yeah. And, from my perspective, and this is just my opinion, with today's world with plastics and our trash removal, we had a trash removal guy here, having a filtration system in your home makes more sense than buying bottles of water. It amazes me how much a bottle of water can be, depending on if you're on vacation or
Right.
if you're not. $8 for a bottle of water, and then you have a plastic thing that's just going to get disposed of. Whereas you can just have filtration systems and not worry about it.
Exactly.
It's a short investment for both our environment and our health. Beyond these services, what are some other products that you have that our viewers might be interested in dealing with water?
So one of the other things we have certainly been installing and recommending, especially when in finished basements, things like that, are leak prevention systems. There are water bugs and other things that will let you know when there's a leak, but there are active water treatments or active water systems that when there's a leak, it will set off an alarm, but more importantly, it will close a ball valve and it can shut water down to the entire house.
Cool. So if you have problems with, or you're going away and you might not be home, having your water heater burst, which is what happened to me,
Right.
would have been helpful if I had something like that.
Exactly, and the active systems will do something to stop the leaking. It will
Right.
turn the water down. If you're on a well, we can have a well relay, which will actually turn the well pump off. So that way, some of these smart systems, they'll tell you there's an alarm, or they'll tell you there's a leak, but if you're on vacation up in Maine or you're out of the country, it's actually going to stop it.
Yeah.
So
I've seen that happen. We had a contractor that was rehabbing a house, and there was a well, and something happened. And I went to do a house check, and there was, I don't know, it was past my knees in the basement, and the well was just pushing water into the house.
the well's, it's not going to
crazy.
stop. No.
It was crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and it doesn't take, it only takes a little bit of water to do a lot of damage.
Yeah, yeah, and creates even more environmental issues. Well, I really appreciate you being here. This is a great topic. It's one that touches everyone's lives, because we all need water to live and to drink. The best way to reach Ryan is through their 800 number of H2O Care, and we're going to put that on the screen for you. Or you can simply contact us at the Gano Group, and we'll point you in the right direction. Thanks for coming today, Ryan. I really appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. If you have any ideas or topics for us or questions about your home, please email us at the email address on your screen. We want to earn the right to be your real estate concierge. I would also invite you to join us on our Facebook group page, Be Home Resources. Again, I'm Kathleen Gano, and I am signing off for today. Be home, be well, and live well.